guys, and welcome back to 155 books. Today I have got a bit of an excessive book haul because I just felt like sharing all of the books that I've slowly been accumulating over the last few months and just haven't got round to doing a haul for. So there are some that I have mentioned in other videos and then there's some that you have never seen before. And there is quite a lot. I've also just decided to leave the whole I'm on a book buying ban thing, mainly because I'm in that period of my life with BookTube and the book community and all of that stuff where I'm just really excited about some books and some new books and new releases and getting recommendations from friends, and I actually want to enjoy myself in terms of my book buying, and I can't do that if I tell myself I'm on a book buying ban. So I just have kind of let that go and sort of said, you know what, if you want to buy books, you can buy books because, you know, you earn money, you're allowed to buy things that you enjoy. Stop trying to say you have to be on a book buying ban because that isn't true. And actually the last time I went book shopping, in mind that it didn't matter if I bought 1 book, 0 book, 4 books, 5 books, I had a great time. So yes, being on BookTube and being a booktuber buying books can be a bit of an issue because there's so many recommendations and we just want to buy them all. But I'm gonna just stop making myself feel bad and let myself just enjoy the process of buying these books I'm excited about. So the first 2 are actually gifts for when I hit 1k from some lovely bookish friends. I have mentioned one of these in a vlog, but I kind of also wanted to just mention it in an actual book haul. But the first one was from the lovely Victoria from What Victoria Read, and it was The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. And I'm just very excited to have this in my possession because so many people just adore this book. I know that it's Sylvie from the TBR Diaries, one of her favourite books, and when people talk about it, they just seem to get all smiley and happy, and it just seems like a very joyful kind of book, and that just fills me with joy even though I haven't read it yet. I don't actually know anything about this other than it's fantasy, I think it's LGBT, and people love it and it's joyful, and I think that's all I need to know. I can definitely see myself sitting down on a cosy autumn evening or weekend and just devouring this book when I'm feeling a bit sorry for myself because it's rainy and it's miserable. But yes, so thank you so much, Victoria. I know I said thank you ages ago because it has been a while since I've had this, but I officially wanted to say, thank you, obviously, for gifting me this for hitting 1k. And this next one was also a gift for hitting 1k from Kirsty from K Beth Bookish, who also sent me a beautiful box of chocolates, and they were gorgeous, and I'm very grateful for our friendship and for us, finding each other. So I'm just very grateful for you, so thank you so very much. But she gifted me The Sun and Her Flowers by Rupi Kaur, and I finished this recently, as you will have seen in my favourite books of the month video. I love Rupi Kaur's poetry. I know some people kind of think she's a bit too modern and Insta poetry and it's not real poetry, but I read this when I was kind of going through the motions, as it were, and I really connected with it. It made me feel less alone, it made me feel seen in my emotions during the time. So I'm actually going to read a little bit from the back that explains what this poetry collection specifically is about, because it just hits the nail on the head. But yeah, The Sun and Her Flowers is a collection of poetry about grief, self-abandonment, honouring one's roots, love and empowering oneself, which I love, by the way. I love reading poetry that is about empowering yourself and just learning to love yourself. And it is split into 5 chapters: wilting, falling, rooting, rising and blooming, because, it's like a flower. I'm obviously not going to go into too much details about this because I talked about it in my favourite books of the month video, but there are also some trigger warnings for this which I'll leave in the description box. But yes, love this one and love Rupi Kaur, and I cannot wait to read her other newish poetry collection as well, because she is a poet I really enjoy reading. So this next book I have also talked about in a favourite books of the month video, not this one, the last one, I think. So I'm just gonna pass buy this one really quickly, but I did of course buy Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid because everyone was talking about it, everyone was reading it. It got to the summertime and all I wanted to do was buy it and read it, and that is what I did. And I thoroughly enjoyed it too, and it was like the perfect sort of summery read and exactly what I needed. I just love Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing. She's definitely going to be an auto-buy author for me, and even though I didn't love this one as much as Daisy Jones or Evelyn Hugo, it was still really enjoyable to read. And if you didn't know, this one is set in the same world as Evelyn Hugo, so there are like crossover with some characters. It follows our main character Nina Riva and her siblings, and it kind of like flashes back to her mum and her family, so you learn a bit of history about her family as well. But the second half of the book is set across the evening of a very famous Riva party that they throw every year in Malibu, and also at the beginning of the book you find out that by the end of the night Malibu is on fire. So yeah, there's just loads going on with this, but it is the perfect summery read, so if you've been thinking about picking it up, buying it and reading it during the summer, I would highly recommend you do so. Next are two books that I bought from a lovely little independent bookstall that's in my local town's market, and it is an independent Black owned bookstall, and they sell sort of young adult and children's books by Black and non-white authors, and I had bought a book from them before because they do sell non-fiction as well. I bought Girl by Kenya Hunt from the bookstall previously. Me and my friends went to visit and I bought two books because it's me. But the first one I picked up was one of the Penguin Modern Classic Minis because I am like slowly collecting these. But this one is Dark Days by James Baldwin. I do believe it's non-fiction, and this one contains 3 essays drawing on Baldwin's own experiences of prejudice in an America violently divided by race. So I love the non-fiction ones, the ones that are like essays, as well as the short stories, so I thought this would be perfect to add to my collection. And I also picked up a book that I have since finished and read, so I'm doing quite well, to be honest, with the books that I bought. I have read, or at least started reading, a few of them. But I bought the Henna Wars, and like I said, yes, I have since finished this and I loved it, and I can completely see why this book gets so much hype. And I just want to thank Leanne from Leanne Rose, and also just the Irish Readathon in general, for bringing this book to my attention. Again, it's also one that Sylvie from the TBR Diaries loves, so that's another reason why I was drawn to it, but it is so good and I would highly recommend this one. But this one follows our main character Nishat, who at the beginning of the book comes out as gay to her parents, and it kind of follows her sort of school days and a new girl who has joined her school, and they're doing sort of business studies, I believe, and they have to come up with a sort of business plan, and Nishat and the new girl both plan to do a henna business, so that hence why it's called the Henna Wars. But it just sort of follows their relationship, Nishat's personal sort of development, family issues, her relationship with her sister. There's just so much packed into this book, and it's such a quick and easy read, and yes, I loved it. So if you've been thinking about picking this one up because of the hyped recommendations on BookTube, then I would recommend that you definitely do so. The next book will be no surprise to some of you, but Anna from Read to Me at Midnight was in Waterstones in London, I believe, and sent me a picture of a hardback version of Normal People and said that it was available to buy online. So I bought a hardback. It's a limited edition version of Normal People because I said that they stopped selling them, the normal hardback editions, and I couldn't get my hands on a copy. They're really expensive to buy secondhand, and I've always wanted one. So I of course bought the limited edition hardback. So now I'm very happy because I have 3 editions of this book: the script version, the paperback, and the hardback. Yes, and it's got a very shiny spine. I'm not going to explain the synopsis of Normal People because if you don't know the synopsis of Normal People, then you must have been living under a rock. But yes, it's contemporary. Sally Rooney's amazing and one of my favourite writers, and I just needed this in my life. And that leads me on to the books that I have bought, mainly in the week off I had from work because I've been adventuring all over the place. So there are 3 different places I went, and I bought books in a bookstore in each of these places just because I cannot control myself. So the first 2 came from Wiltshire in general. So I went camping with one of my best friends in Wiltshire, and we were in Avebury, and they have a National Trust shop, and I just saw this and I was drawn to it, so I bought it. But it is called A Breath of Fresh Air, How to Feel Good All Year Round, because I have been feeling particularly good in the spring and summer, and it does worry me coming up to autumn that my mood is going to dip massively, just because with the weather and the dark nights and everything, I find it quite difficult sometimes to try and lift my mood. So I thought that this would be the perfect book to try and help. And it's full of really lovely sort of photographs of nature, and obviously it's split into the different seasons, and it's just got a list of like fun activities for you to do. There's quotes from poems about the seasons. It's just one of those books that's really random but has all of the things I love in it. So pictures of nature, poems, random poems from authors about the seasons, activities for me to do, and it's definitely the kind of book that if I'm feeling a bit down, I would reach towards to be like, right, is there anything in here to give me inspiration to sort of cheer myself up a little bit, to get out the house and do something a bit fun. And yes, like I said, I've flipped through it and I've actually made a list of the things I want to do in summer, because the summer ones are things that I would never think about doing, even though I love summer. So already it's come in very helpful. And then I went to one of my favourite bookshops, which is the White Horse bookshop in Marlborough, and I do believe it's also one of Victoria's favourite bookshops, and just the fact that I've been in a bookshop that Victoria has been in just makes me very excited. And I did kind of say to myself, I don't need to buy any more books, I'm just going to go in and have a look. And then when I was in there, I was a bit like, what does it matter if you buy another book? It's fine. So I got another poetry book, because with poetry books as well I feel less bad because I can read them quite quickly. But I recently finished The World's Wife by Carol Ann Duffy and loved it, so I knew that I wanted to read more of her work, and I was drawn to this one. It's called Rapture, and on the back it says it's sort of meant to be read in one sitting, and it's a love story. And I just love that idea that, you know, when I'm in the mood to just sit and devour a book, there's one that, you know, on the back it says that you're kind of meant to do that with. And I, of course, got another bookmark while I was there as well. Every single time I'm in there, I get another one. So this is like my 3rd one. So yes, we love the bookmarks. So that is the first pile that I had next to me over and done with. We've got one more pile to get through, and these next 3 books were bought in the Waterstones in Brighton, because me and my boyfriend went to Brighton overnight for a little like staycation type thing, and it's probably the quickest pickup, like table pickup I've ever done in Waterstones, because it was very strategically placed, right? This table was literally, you step in the door and the table is already there. And it was a little round table, and it was just full of Sarah Moss's new book, which is Summer Water. And I didn't even have to think twice about it. I literally just picked it up and was like, I'm buying that, it's mine. But then I read the synopsis and I was like, yes, this is definitely a book for me. So the only other book by Sarah Moss I have read was Ghost Wall, and I think I gave it 3 stars, but I still really enjoyed it. It's just going into it, I didn't know what to expect. And that's why I'm very excited about Summer Water, because going into it now, I do know what to expect, and that excites me. And this one is very similar to Ghost Wall, because this one is set in Scotland over the summer solstice, and it follows loads of sort of different families who are staying over a period of time, and just things that start to maybe go wrong with these families. And I'm assuming there's going to be some kind of drama, some kind of like maybe mythical summer solstice, spiritual ritual kind of stuff happening. And I just love all of that, especially after coming back from a camping trip in Wiltshire and visiting Avebury, because it just gives me those summer solstice, spiritual, fun, you know, vibes. So I'm very excited to get to this one, and as you may have seen, it is on my August reading plans, because I'm just very excited about picking this one up soon. So this next one, again, was one that I saw and just immediately picked up to be like, yes, I'm buying that. but it is this really cute, tiny little book of David Bowie, and it's just words of wit and wisdom from the Starman. If you didn't know this about me, I have mentioned it previously, I believe. I'm obsessed with David Bowie. I love him. There's just something about him overall that I'm very much drawn to. I have so many of his albums, and also while we were in Brighton, we went to the really cool photo exhibition that's on in Brighton at the minute to do with David Bowie through 79 to 80 something years, where one of his best friends took loads of photos of him and they're never seen before, and it was so good. I really enjoyed that. So I was in that kind of David Bowie kind of mood anyway. So when I saw this, I knew I needed it in my life. And I am also currently reading this. I'm already over halfway through. I've always been interested in what he has to say because he's a very intelligent man, or was a very intelligent man. I still hate saying that, it makes me very sad. But yes, there's some things like quotes in here that just suit the modern social media age particularly well, and it's kind of a bit freaky. So yes, this is probably one I will also return to when I'm feeling a bit like, oh, I need some inspiration. And the next purchase I made isn't like a reading book, it is a journal, and it's one that I've wanted for a really long time, but when it came out, I was a bit like, oh, I don't really have a use for this. But now I have a use for it, and I'm very excited. And that is, of course, Sana from Books and Quills' book club journal. So Sana is the booktuber that got me into booktube years ago in like my first year of university. I stumbled across her channel and never looked back. So when she released this journal, I did, like I said, I've always wanted it, but at the time I thought it might be a bit wasteful because, you know, I wasn't part of a book club. But now I'm hosting my own book club. So it is, of course, going to come in handy, and I cannot wait to use this when I start reading Queenie, and it's definitely going to help me being like a book club host. There's hints and tips in here at the beginning about how to host a book club. There's book recommendations for book clubs at the back, and obviously in the middle it's just, you know, you logging the books that you read for your book club. But I'm sometimes not great at like thinking about books and my thoughts on them, and especially in a discussion type way. So I'm really hoping that this is going to help with that. And it's also gorgeous. So I'm just very happy to have this. So the next 3 books came from Sylvie from the TBR Diaries, as she was unhauling some books and she sent us some photos and asked if we wanted any. And I saw 3 by one author who I've said this before, feel very drawn to, even though I haven't read a single one of her books. So I asked for all 3 of these books. Yeah, and I don't know why, but they're very pretty together. But they are all Ali Smith books. So we have got Autumn by Ali Smith, Winter, and then the very popular How to Be Both, because it won the Women's Prize for Fiction in 2015. I think that was the book that got me into knowing who Ali Smith was. My mum's read it and really liked the first part, but not the second part, which I think a lot of people say. Either way, Ali Smith is definitely an author I want to try, hence why I now own 4 of her books. And I thought it might be a fun idea to read all 4 in one month. But because she's very literary fiction, that might also just destroy my soul. But yes, I'm just very excited to own these. So thank you so much, Sylvie, for sending me them. Also along with some very cute treats and tea and a cute postcard, and it just made my heart very happy. So thank you. And now for the final 3 books in this excessive book haul are the 4 books that I bought in Windsor. So I went to Windsor with my mum for the weekend to go and watch Hamlet with Ian McKellen, or Sir Ian McKellen, playing Hamlet, and it was amazing. Like, I can't even get over. I'm still thinking about it. It's the quickest standing ovation I've ever seen. It was a really great audience. The performance itself was outstanding. The trip overall to Windsor was also really great. And And yes, I went to Waterstones to make myself feel better, and I went in and someone was playing like guitar or something outside, and it was just such a lovely vibe. I was like shopping, like I was book shopping inside, and someone was playing the guitar, and I just felt so at peace. I didn't feel bad about the books I wanted to buy. I just went in without any sort of like idea of what I wanted as well, and came out with 4 very random books that I'm very happy to now own. But the first one I picked up was Good Vibes, Good Life by Vex King. Yes, if you watch my videos, you know that I'm normally very much anti self-help books, but this actually came from the spiritual section. So I've recently really got into spiritualism, I guess. Is that what you would call it? I don't really know, but that is a section I go to in the bookshop to buy books like this, like The Interior Silence, some others that I have that I just really enjoy reading now. I'm really into meditating, into sort of manifesting your dream life, all of those kind of things, mainly because of some of the non-bookish YouTubers I watch. Yeah, so I'm just kind of getting into that stuff, and I am a believer in it, I guess. And I have started this and I am loving it, and there are so many things I do agree with. It goes into so many different things like self-care, looking after yourself and who you surround yourself with, like cutting toxic people out of your life, habits you can do daily to sort of help with your self-care, like meditation, journaling, things like that, things that I do try to do daily myself. But yes, I am on page 92, so nearly at page 100, but this one is basically just about how self-love is the key to unlocking your greatness, and I believe in that. You've got to look after you. So very much enjoying this one, very glad I picked this one up. And then I picked up A Short History of Myth by Karen Armstrong, and this is one of the books that's in the collection, of the same collection that Wait by Jeanette Winterson is in. It's sort of like a myth-related collection, I guess, by loads of different like popular authors. And I read Wait last month, and I talked about it in my favourite books of the month video. Really enjoyed it, and this one was actually on my wish list, so this is one I've been wanting to pick up anyway, but I was even more excited to buy it and have it in my possession when I looked at the contents. So obviously this is a non-fiction book, just a short history of myth, but what I love about it is that it starts in the Paleolithic period and goes through some of my favourite periods in history as an archaeologist, and reading about myth from those periods I'm very excited about doing because it's more archaeological. So yeah, there's the Paleolithic period, the Neolithic period, the early civilizations, and it goes all the way through to the Great Western Transformation, and it's just made me even more excited about picking this up and learning more about myths through through history. And it's also another short one, so we love the short books. So this next book is one that I've been meaning again to read for a while, and I was waiting for the paperback to come out, and it comes heavily recommended by a lot of close friends and booktubers, but that is Ghosts by Dolly Alderton. Yes, Shah read it and loved it, Leanne read it and loved it, I think Aoife's read this one and also loved it, so comes heavily recommended. The concept is very interesting to me, and again, because it's summertime and I'm really into contemporaries at the moment, I thought this would be perfect, and one that I want to get to soon because I'm just feeling in that mood. But yeah, I'm also kind of intimidated though because so many people love it so much, so I'm a bit worried that if I don't, they will come for me. So I don't know much about this one other than it follows our main character Nina, who is in her 30s. Everything in her life I do believe is going quite well apart from relationships. She sees the people around her getting married, moving on, being in like long-lasting relationships, dating, things like that. So that part of her life I'm guessing isn't great. And then she meets Max, who on their first date tells her that he's going to marry her. And then I don't really know what happens after that, but I'm intrigued to see where this one goes, kind of what it tells about like the dating scene in your 30s maybe. But yeah, again, because it comes highly recommended, I'm very excited about getting around to it. We are finally on the last book, and this book is a book that proves that just booktubing, bookstagramming, anything book related, if you're on social media, that you have a very heavy influence. Because when I was in Windsor, I wasn't on my phone very often. I was trying to sort of avoid it and just enjoy my time in Windsor. I went on Instagram, I think, for about like 30 seconds, and Olivia Savannah from Olivia's Catastrophe, I was just going through her stories on Instagram, and Olivia has recently said that Instagram is one of her less favourite places to create content now, which I do completely understand. But I didn't even read the full story, but I saw this book, I saw that she gave it 5 stars and that she loved it, and when I went into Waterstones in Windsor, I saw it out the corner of my eye, and without even thinking, walked over, picked it up and carried on walking. Without even like reading the synopsis, I just knew because Olivia had given it 5 stars that I wanted to read it as well. But the book I'm talking about is Open Water by Caleb Azuma Nelson. So I don't know a lot about this other than it is a new release. A few people that I have since read reviews from have all loved it. I do believe the writing is absolutely gorgeous, and it just follows 2 young people who meet at a pub in southeast London. Both are Black British, both won scholarships to private schools where they struggled to belong, both are now artists. And I do believe, you know, it's them just falling in love. And that just sounds like a very gorgeous story, and especially if the writing's beautiful, the concept just, you know, people have loved this and raved about it, and I love the cover as well. The cover is gorgeous, and this is one that I hope to get to soon as well because so many people are loving it. So that's the end of this book haul video. My throat is getting sore because I've been talking so much. This is going to be incredibly long, maybe because I was just rambling a little bit, but I'm just so happy with all of these beautiful books that I now have. Thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully there won't be another one of these too soon, but I'll see you soon in my next video. Bye!